Hey guys, it's Comic Central here, and welcome back to part 2 of phase 1 of how I would structure the DCEU. If you haven't watched the first episode, make sure to go see that, and with that said, let's dive into this. The fifth movie in phase 1 should be the second Batman movie. This will open with the death of Dick Grayson's parents. It will have to be made obvious to the viewer that Carmine Falcone was the one responsible for the death of his parents while they were performing at the circus. This is just going to help with the overall character development of Falcone in the future. Him being implemented in the crowd is the best way to do this. Dick survives as he is not doing the act at the time and is waiting for the time to jump in and help with the act. The next scene will be Dick's parents' funeral. At this funeral, Bruce Wayne turns up to pay his respects along with Alfred. He does this because Bruce is the one who funded their act. At the funeral, Bruce takes an interest in Dick and begins to talk to him about his parents and that it will be okay. Later in the day, when Dick is at the orphanage, Bruce comes in and adopts the child. The reason he was able to adopt so quickly and why Dick Grayson was put in there is because he owns the place and the papers were already in check. Bruce doing them just after the funeral. Dick comes home with Bruce, but Bruce quickly disappears and Dick is left to his own devices or talking with Alfred. A few weeks roll by with Dick rarely seeing Bruce around the mansion. He watches the news about the vigilante Batman and the criminals he takes down. Some of the criminals that the news speaks about is an expert sniper and talks about drops in organized crime. Snipers should not be talked about by name, but the internet can wear that down to being Deadshot. One night, Dick is walking around the mansion when he accidentally triggers the Batcave entrance in the library. Dick enters and starts to explore the Batcave. Batman comes up behind Dick and tells him to leave and questions him how he found this place. Dick leaves, but every day after that, he talks to Alfred about it, who then tells Bruce. Bruce, after a few days, lets up and lets Dick into the Batcave. Dick talks to him about being his sidekick and Bruce declines. That night, Bruce goes out as Batman and finds a mutilated body hanging up in an apartment by their hands. This is the body of the old police commissioner. Batman investigates the room and tracks down a lead. This leads Batman to a warehouse near the docks where he sees a man whose face is twisted and deformed. This man, being the Joker, talking to a few goons. They seem to be talking about some massive plot to do with the police station. Batman jumps into the warehouse and takes out the goons, but the Joker gets out in time and triggers a set of bombs in the warehouse. Batman barely escapes with his life and jumps out the window into the Batmobile. Batman arrives back at the Batcave where he is once again confronted by Dick. Batman finally lets up, saying that Dick can help him out on this, but nothing more, and for him to stay out of the way and be careful. Batman begins to teach Dick lessons in the martial arts he knows. Batman investigates what happened with the goons that night on the Batcomputer, while being spoken to by Dick about his brooding. The next day, a new police commissioner gets named, and the cop that got that promotion is James Gordon. A day goes by, and Batman and Dick are in the Batcave and about to leave. As they're leaving, Batman shows Dick a suit he has been working on. Dick is thrilled and puts the suit on, calling himself Robin the Boy Wonder, as that was his stage name at the circus. Batman declines the name and says to go with the code name Robin, and not the other part of it. Batman and Robin leave the cave and go out into the night of Gotham City. They sweep in the area and taking out a few goons. Batman gets impressed by the skill that Dick shows in taking out the one or two guys and how much progress he has made in his martial arts training, but he doesn't say anything to him. This happens for the next few days. After a few days of being out in the field, Batman intercepts a police radio call at the police station and the duo respond. Batman explains to Robin about the utility belt that he wears on his costume while they're travelling. They're travelling via grapple hook as well. Robin can do this because it is similar to the trapezium that he did in the circus. Upon arriving at the scene of the crime, the duo find that it is at the police station itself. The duo enter the station via the vents. Batman discovers about half of the cops have turned on the police station and are helping in the attack. Dead cops are hung up in places or are left on the floor mutilated. Batman and Robin go through the police station and take out the cops that are keeping the pure of heart cops hostage. Robin is distressed about the dead bodies, so Batman tells him how he copes with it, which seems to ease Dick a bit. Batman finds Commissioner Gordon being held hostage by a few corrupt cops. Batman saves him, then he talks with Gordon. Gordon says the cops got paid off thousands of dollars to aid a madman in his quest to seize Gotham City and turn it into a funland. Gordon tells Batman to save his daughter, who is in the security room. Gordon tells Batman that she came to work with him today to learn the family business, but she got caught in the crossfire of all this. Batman and Robin go off to the security room through the vents and find Barbara Gordon there. Batman and Robin jump in the room to see if she is her. She says that she is safe, and as she put the whole room in security lockdown, except for the vent, hoping that Batman would come. She offers to help Batman hack the police system in order to aid him in getting the situation under control. A transmission comes through the computer that Barbara is on during the convo, and the Joker comes on the screen, threatening the innocents with bombs that are left within the GCPD and in the surrounding area. Robin stays with Barbara as he seems to be in love with her, and Batman goes off to stop the Joker. Robin stays there because he thinks he is protecting her. Barbara hacks the system to allow Batman to enter the room where the Joker is, and he takes out the rest of his goons and corrupt officers. There should be about 50 of them, and Batman does it with relative ease. This massive fight scene is happening. We can intercut to Robin attempting to talk up Barbara Gordon, just for that little bit of comic relief. Batman confronts the Joker and beats him up. Joker blocks one of two of Batman's hits, but the rest land with relative ease. Joker says that he has drawn money from Falcone and left him virtually bankrupt, which explains how he got the money to pay off the cops. Batman knocks him unconscious, which breaks his nose. Joker is now bloodied and bruised. Batman leaves with Dick back to his Batcave, and Gordon captures Joker and sends him off to Arkham Asylum. Now the movie ends with the after-credit scene of a middle-aged woman coming home and yelling out, "Honey, I'm home," just a classic line. She walks into the kitchen and puts down the groceries on a bench. A flash of yellow light appears behind her, and a sinister voice says, "Hey, darling." Then it ends. We don't see who this figure is because this will lead on to the next movie. This movie should aim for an MA15+ rating or a R18+ rating because of the Joker and the dark themes in this movie. The sixth movie will be the Flash movie. As the after-credits scene from the second Batman movie covered Barry Allen's mother being murdered, we don't go into that at all, so start this movie off with Barry as an adult waking up in the morning. He realizes he's late for work and quickly gets dressed and gets in his car. His car doesn't start up, so he's forced to run to work. Barry runs through the streets of Central City, narrowly avoiding getting hit by cars and knocking over people. Barry arrives at work and gets in trouble from his fiancée, Iris West, for being late. Barry gets to the lab and begins work. Iris comes in to check on him occasionally, and he explains that he's studying the forensics from various superhuman sites over the last few weeks. When Iris leaves for home when it becomes late, Barry stays back, saying that he wants to look at one last thing. It should be a thunderstorm at this point outside. When no one is around, Barry gets chemicals out and begins to delve deeper into a specific case. This case being the death of his mother. Barry uses the chemicals and mixes them together, testing to see if they have any electrical charge to them. They have no result and only fizzle and die instantly. Barry sits back in his chair and opens the file of his mother's death. It reads something about a large gunshot wound through the chest of some kind and a strange electrical charge coming off the wound. Barry shakes his head and throws the file down and starts to leave. As he's leaving, he spills the chemicals, and as soon as they spill, a lightning bolt erupts into the room via a conductor near the site of Barry's tests. The rest of the chemicals explode and go all over Barry. Barry screams, then passes out. He wakes up a few hours later and realizes that he's not wounded, but his workplace is a mess. He gets up and feels nauseous. He stumbles out of the room and outside of the building completely. Time should be shown on the clock as 12:07. Barry is surprised to find that it is not a thunderstorm anymore. Barry starts to walk home, regaining his balance and walking normally. As he is walking home, a cat jumps out at him. Barry jumps out of the way, and the world around him turns into a yellow shimmer, and the cat is moving incredibly slowly through the air. Confused, Barry strokes the cat, which makes the cat's hair stand straight up. Barry looks at his hands and starts to run off towards his house. A yellow electricity seems to follow him, and Barry tries to outrun it. He gets in the door and slams it shut, confused. The yellow shimmer stops, and Barry looks at the time, 12:07. Barry walks off to bed and find Iris asleep. Barry changes into his pajamas, then gets into bed. We won't actually see him do that though, because that'd be a bit weird. He lies there thinking about what had happened. Barry's mind is racing and a million thoughts slide through his head at once. Barry then jumps out of bed and walks into the living room and takes a box marked comics. Barry flicks through them until he finds a comic called Jay Garrick, The Flash. Barry skims through it and looks up, a grin on his face. Barry gets up and moves his hand fast, making the yellow shimmer reappear. Barry jumps up and down, then moves around the house as fast as he can. He sees pieces of paper and other things fly slowly in the air as he walks past them. Barry stops running and the items crash onto the walls and the ground. Barry hears Iris call out about what's happened and he tells her to go back to bed. Barry looks at his shoes and they are torn and melted in parts. Barry takes them off, then runs out of the house. He runs up to the space lookout and takes parts of the spaceship, such as small parts of the plating and astronaut outfits, things that people most likely won't realize they're missing. They probably will, but anyway. Barry runs back home and gets a red spray paint. He gets the comic he was looking at before and opens it up. Barry then crafts his Flash uniform for the first time. Barry goes upstairs and goes to bed. He wakes up early the next morning and asks Iris to ask the boss for a short time off. She says yes, and Barry leaves the house, smuggling his costume out. Barry says that he will be back soon and heads off to the racetrack. Barry puts his suit on and does a few laps of the track, timing himself. Each lap takes just under a second. Barry keeps doing this, getting increasingly faster until he stops running and finds himself back at his home earlier in the day. Confused, Barry puts this down to manipulation of time via speed. Next, Barry runs into the main city and runs around looking for people to test these powers on. He helps a few people get cats out of trees or help old people across the road, but that's about it. This goes on for a few days and then he witnesses a bank robbery. Barry runs in and disarms the robbers. The robbers are confused and Barry is pleased with himself. They go to attack him, but Barry is ready. He moves through them all, poking them each once. He stops moving and the robbers all fly across the room. The hostages cheer and congratulate Barry, chanting the name, Flash, because of his comic book counterpart. Barry takes this in for a moment, then runs off. While he is running, he gets tackled by another person running. Barry gets pushed onto the ground, then quickly gets up. The person is revealed to be Reverse Flash. Barry and him run through the city and throw punches at each other, which Reverse Flash easily dodges. Reverse Flash says to Barry that he killed his mother and he's the reason for every bad day he ever had. Barry attempts to punch Reverse Flash as hard as he can, but he misses and Reverse Flash runs ahead and disappears completely. Barry stands still and stares into the distance, where the Reverse Flash ran from. He then moves to Iris West at home with a child named Wally West. Iris is talking to him while they're eating lunch. Barry walks to the door with a Flash costume in a duffel bag, which is unseen to Iris and Wally. Iris introduces Wally to him and he says he is her nephew. Barry takes his bag upstairs and throws it in the closet. Barry then goes to talk to Iris and Wally. Barry hands Iris a gift which he unwraps to find a special photo of Barry and her, which he got earlier in the day. Iris is happy and excited and rushes upstairs to put the photo next to a bed. When she does this, Wally tells Barry that he loves the Flash and wants to be just like him. Barry nods and smiles. Later that night, when Wally and Iris are in bed, Barry looks at the photo that he gave Iris. The photo slowly starts to fade and change, and the picture changes to Barry at Iris' funeral, and Reverse Flash is standing in the background smiling at the camera. Barry, scared, looks over at Iris, who has faded away. Barry throws the photo at the wall and grabs his Flash costume, enraged. Barry's eyes light up with lightning and he runs out of the house. He runs around the world as fast as he can, hoping to try and travel back in time, but this time on purpose. With every step he takes, he increases his speed until eventually the world around him morphs into a yellow lightning and red blur. Barry doesn't stop running and keeps running until he's literally running through his life. When he sees Reverse Flash start to come into his memories way back when he first met Iris, Flash grabs Reverse Flash and pulls him towards himself, trapping him and himself in Barry's memories and slowly traveling back through time. Flash and Reverse Flash fight each other while running. Reverse Flash says, amused to Barry, that he is creating the Speed Force for the first time. Barry grabs Reverse Flash and throws him forward. Barry stops running for less than a second. Barry throws Reverse Flash into a dinosaur, then grabs him again and throws him back into the Speed Force. Barry keeps throwing him into different parts of history, hurting him. Some of these places include the Sphinx, specifically into its face, which breaks its nose off. Also into Kondak, which we get a glimpse of Black Adam and Hawkman fighting in some sort of war. But those don't get named and they're only there for a split second, barely enough to even see them. When Flash is running back through the Speed Force, he sees himself working with chemicals like we seen earlier in the movie. Barry runs past and quickly touches himself, creating the lightning bolt. This memory closes and Barry and Reverse Flash continue running through the Speed Force. Reverse Flash and Barry fight until Barry finally manages to kick him out of the Speed Force. With the Reverse Flash down, Barry slows down to a stop. Barry finds himself wearing his costume and standing next to his bed with Iris in it. The picture is next to a bed as it originally was. Barry takes off his suit and checks Wally's room. He is in there, sound asleep, so Barry moves back to bed and lies down. He tells Iris he loves her, then he falls asleep, ending the movie. This movie should be like the Green Lantern movie and have a lot of world building in it. For the after credit scene for this movie, we'll have an African American Starlab scientist talking to a webcam. He speaks about an experiment that went wrong and something from another dimension came into our world. It was humanoid but had wings and it killed his wife and severely injured his son. He says that he managed to kill it and shut the portal, but not after damage was done. He then goes on to say that the technology of the creature was beyond our wildest dreams, and he used its technology combined with blueprints for an older project he had been working on to save his son and turn him into some sort of cyborg. Now, when he says that, it will reveal Cyborg lying on a table or lying up on a table beside him. Or behind him, it depends. It doesn't really matter where this is. Then it ends. That scene just sets up for the introduction of Cyborg into the DCEU. This movie should aim to have a PG-13 rating with the highest rating of M. This is just because it will capture the humour of the character much better, being happier and brighter. We're going to do the conclusion of Phase 1. This movie has been what the Phase has been building for and what was hinted at in the Superman after credits scene. This is going to be the first Justice League movie. We start the movie off from Cyborg's perspective. This starts off with Cyborg getting rejected from the track team by his principal because of his cybernetic enhancements, which will give him an unfair advantage. Cyborg leaves his university, and it should be made clear that the principal and him had a meeting after school about this, not during school. Anyway, so Cyborg goes home and tells his dad about this. His dad responds like it is a good thing because he wants him to pursue a path of intellect and hope to shape the world that way. Mad at his dad, Cyborg leaves and meets up with his best friend, Ronald Evers. Ronald despises Cyborg because he thinks he's become too good for them. Ronald chases Cyborg off, leaving Cyborg alone once again. While Cyborg roams the streets alone, his cybernetic implants pick up another cybernetic machine of great mass within the universe. Cyborg flies off to this location. It should be noted that this is on Earth, and not on a different planet. Next, we'll look at Green Lantern. Green Lantern, while patrolling the sector and defeating some sort of villain, gets an alert from his ring. Hal follows his ring's instruction and flies toward Earth to investigate the threat. Next, Superman responds. He uses his super hearing and picks up alien movement unlike anything he has heard before, so he flies to respond. Next, Batman responds. He picks up an alien/cybernetic life form via the Batcomputer. Robin offers to come along, but Batman rejects his offer and orders him to stay in Gotham. That way, if anything goes wrong while he is gone, somebody can at least respond to that. Batman flies off to the threat in his Batwing. Next, Flash is seen running to the threat. Now that all of those characters are arriving to the addressed threat, we'll cut to the scene that shows the threat. The threat is happening in the middle of the desert as well. Wonder Woman is already on the scene and is investigating a disturbance. A giant skull ship with tentacles floats in midair. Wonder Woman is calculating a way to destroy the ship when Hal Jordan floats down from the sky. In this order, the rest of the characters arrive. Flash, Cyborg, then finally Batman. Superman does not arrive at this stage. They all stand in a circle, staring at each other, until Batman throws the Batarang at Cyborg, which disrupts his system, then attacks Flash. The League then starts fighting. Superman then arrives, floating above them all like a god, and commands them to stop fighting. The League look up at him, shocked and surprised. Superman explains that each other are not the threat here, and that each of them come to respond to the threat. Superman offers the heroes to team up, and each of them agree but Batman. Superman talks to Batman personally about the team, and finally Batman agrees, swatting Superman's hand out of the way when he tries to shake it. The League discuss possible plans, but Batman stays silent, listening to the conversation. Cyborg attempts to hack the ship, but to no effect, and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern attempt to dismantle the tentacles with little effect. Superman floats up and attempts to make contact with her. From inside the ship, Brainiac scans Superman, revealing to him that he is Kryptonian. Brainiac seizes this as an opportunity to capture living Kryptonian skin cells that have been exposed to the yellow sun, so he teleports the ship away. Superman questions Batman as to why he didn't help, and his response is that he was calculating its weakness and was deriving the plan. Superman senses that the ship is now in Metropolis, so he alerts the others and they fly to Metropolis. Batman gets left behind, so he gets in the Batwing and flies after them. At Metropolis, the team find that the ship has been completely destroyed, part of Metropolis, and the hull is the only thing that is left. Enraged, Superman tries to break into the ship's hull, but to no effect as the shielding is too strong, and it seems to be concentrating the shields at a specific point instantly when Superman attacks them. From the bottom of the ship, thousands of metal balls pop out and fly towards the heroes, who are positioned on a part of Metropolis that hasn't been destroyed. The metal balls turn to small robot spiders and they start to attack what's left of the city, and its civilians. Innocents run in fright as the spiders come to attack. Wonder Woman leaps to their safety and begins killing the spiders on the ground. Flash, Green Lantern, and Cyborg all join in. Superman flies into the ship as more metal balls are coming out, via the entrance on the bottom of the ship. Superman begins to explore the ship. The heroes on the ground are getting overrun and they are nearly tired out. Flash does save Wonder Woman and Green Lantern though because he has superior endurance due to his super speed. The Batwing suddenly appears out of nowhere. He sets off a small EMP that renders the spiders useless for only a short time. In this time, Batman dishes out the orders for the League to follow. He tells Wonder Woman to stay on the ground where her skills would be most useful and for Green Lantern to cover the air. He orders Flash to run around the city and get every civilian out of harm's way and to attack any spiders that try to harm any civilians, to make sure that the water rushing into the hole and that part of Metropolis doesn't get stuck in any ships and kill innocents. At this moment, the spiders come back online, so Wonder Woman and Green Lantern go to their respective positions. The spiders start to evolve and some of them develop the ability to fly, so Green Lantern gets his hands full. Batman instructs Cyborg to get on top of a building and hack the ship from there. Batman hands a device to Cyborg that he can plug into his cybernetics so that he can hack the ship. It will allow him anyway, because he doesn't have the technology to be able to do that yet. Batman goes on the ground with Wonder Woman and fights the spiders on the ground with her, and helps Green Lantern as well where he can. Meanwhile, Superman explores the inside of the ship and finds a collection of cities in glass bottles, one of which is the part of Metropolis that is missing. Superman also sees Kandor in a bottle, as well as a place that his father explained to him in the first Superman movie. A voice speaks over speakers in the ship to Superman telling him to make a choice. Save one of the cities and the others die. So what will it be? Kandor, his home planet, from his home planet, or Earth, from not his home planet, but where he lives now. Superman says that he will not make the choice and will save everyone as he knows no one deserves to die. Brainiac comes out and shows himself to Superman and makes him choose. Superman declines again and threatens to destroy all of the cities. Brainiac, in a state of panic because he is trying to preserve the cities, not destroy them, attacks Superman as he does not want any of the cities to die, as he claims he is preserving them from a doomed world. On the ground, Batman orders Green Lantern to take him up to the ship. Green Lantern takes him up to the ship and throws him near it. Then Batman grapples up the rest of the way. Superman gets beaten by Brainiac, who does it with relative ease. Superman then explains that he wouldn't have actually destroyed them all and that he was just threatening him to prove his point. Brainiac was able to do this as he used tentacles on the inside of the ship that are pointed with kryptonite, as well as his own tentacles that are on his back. As Brainiac is about to preserve Superman, Batman intervenes and knocks Brainiac away from him. Outside, the spiders are weakened, so Wonder Woman and Green Lantern finish the last few off, because Brainiac got weakened, and that weakened them as well. Brainiac starts to glitch and malfunction, so Batman takes this as his advantage and kicks Brainiac into the wall, defeating him. Batman explains to Superman that he had Cyborg hack the ship's controls, and since Brainiac seemed to control the ship telepathically, the virus was uploaded directly to Brainiac. Batman also says to never tell anyone that he saved Superman. Batman and Superman go to the central control system in the other room, and Batman says the ship may be controlled manually. Superman volunteers as he can see that it will most likely kill Batman if he tries. Superman gets into the controls and controls the ship to teleport to Metropolis outside, which will reverse the process of miniaturization. This happens and the city starts to plummet to the ground. Wonder Woman and Green Lantern catch the city and lower it carefully back onto the ground. As this happens, Flash gets the last few ships and civilians to safety. Superman and Batman leave the ship and Superman takes the bottled city of Kandor with him. The reason the city doesn't return to normal size when it is outside of the ship is because it has been miniaturized long ago, and the effects have become irreversible. Brainiac's ship starts to fly off into outer space and gets there, but rests just above the atmosphere, unable to go anywhere else, and with Brainiac defeated, it won't go anywhere else. Brainiac also has a virus implanted in him, so he is virtually useless now. The team then meets up and rejoins to get together. The team is seen having a briefing, and Flash says they cannot function as a team if everything is so secret between them, and they need to trust each other for it to work. Batman then goes through and says everyone's secret identity before taking his cowl off and revealing his. He then puts his cowl back on, of course. The team soon disperse and go their separate ways. Later that day, the team gets spoken to about the President of the United States and gets addressed as the Justice League of America. Then the movie ends. The after-credit scene for this movie should have Lex Luthor called into a meeting room in the prison to talk to someone. Lex talks to an African-American lady from the Wonder Woman movie, and she introduces herself as Amanda Waller. And she says she can get Lex out of jail if she does one simple thing for her. And that brings us to the end of yet another video. This is the second and final part of Phase 1 of how I would structure the DCEU. If you want to see Phase 2, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that said, I'll see you guys next video. Bye.